Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going over some tips and tricks for the Independence of the Seas based on my experiences on board. I have taken over 10 Royal Caribbean cruises in the last 3 years, so I have a lot of real world experience to share with you. So let's get started. But before we do, if you do like cruise content, subscribe to the channel. And if you happen to like this video, go ahead and give it a like. It really helps us out. The Independence of the Seas sails all over the Caribbean. I do recommend booking your cruise as far in advance as possible to save the most amount of money, but sometimes you can find some close-in booking deals. Once you do book the cruise, download that Royal Caribbean app and start booking your excursions, things to do on board. The reason why I say you should do this is one, things sometimes can book up, but two, you find a much better deal on the app before your cruise than if you were to book the same activities on board. This is honestly a no-risk activity because even if you book something before your cruise and the price drops, you can cancel and rebook completely free. I do this all the time, especially around sale times like Black Friday. Definitely my biggest tip here for saving money on your Royal Caribbean cruise. And while Independence of the Seas was once the largest ship in the world, it's now honestly pretty mid-sized for Royal Caribbean, given that they have some massive ships in the Oasis class and Quantum class. Royal Caribbean does offer the key, which can get you on board a little bit quicker and allow you to attend some activities a little bit earlier or with some exclusive options like the rock climbing wall or the flow rider. If that's something that you're interested in, book that before your cruise. It does include internet as well, so price out the difference between an internet package and adding on the key. It may make sense for your family. I've done it once or twice before on board Royal Caribbean ships, and I felt like it was a pretty good add-on, but it was just me in the cabin. If you're sailing with family, I think the key can really kind of add up over time. Now, as soon as check-in opens for your cruise, you're going to want to log in and check in because you're going to get a welcome aboard time. You want to get that as early as possible, in my opinion, because one, you can make any restaurant recommendations that you'd like. Sometimes shows can book up with people that are on board the ship before you. And if you're looking to go to maybe the pool or do some water slides or the flow rider, you can do that on embarkation day. You can bring your swimsuit on board your carry-on, and you can do it with a lot less lines than on that next sea day or even when the ship is in port. The Windjammer is of course very popular on embarkation day and people have a lot of luggage, so I tend to try and avoid that, or at least just eat on the early side if I am able to get on the ship super early. Definitely recommend doing that, just getting all of your kind of to-do items done before the ship even leaves the port. In terms of cabin selection, I do think that the balcony cabins are going to be the most popular on board the ship, as they are on pretty much every other cruise. Lots of balcony cabins, that's the good news. I would recommend getting something midship just to be close to kind of more of the central action on board the ship, and maybe one or two decks below the main activity decks of like the pool deck, just so you kind of avoid any noise coming from up above. But overall, this ship is really easy to get around and you can't really go wrong with cabin location. I had a panoramic ocean view on my cruise, which was on one of the top decks right next to the spa, and I found that to be very convenient for getting to the gym. For dining on board, of course, there are free options available and you can make use of those and not have to pay an extra dime on food at all while you're on board. Of course, the Windjammer buffet, open breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You have the main dining room that's open for breakfast on some days and then dinner every single evening. That menu is completely included. You have 2 seatings for dinner, and then you also have my time dining. I recommend actually choosing a time for dinner rather than doing my time dining. It just is sometimes a hassle getting a table, and I prefer actually the earlier seating, even though it's a little bit earlier than when I typically like to dine for dinner. There's just so many activities going on the ship. I like to do the earlier dining time. If you're someone that's thinking about avoiding the main dining room for your cruise as well as the Windjammer and you want to do some specialty dining, I do recommend doing the unlimited dining package. It's available at a discount in the app before your cruise most of the time, and you can eat to your heart's content. You're going to get a dinner every single evening as well as lunch in one of the specialty restaurants on embarkation day, as well as any sea days on your cruise. So it's a really good option. You also get a $20 credit for any of the a la carte restaurants to use. So Playmakers is on board Independence of the Seas. You get $20 per day to use there. Do recommend doing this if you're someone who likes to eat and likes to eat a little bit higher dining options than maybe what the main dining room is serving. There's also more casual dining options on board, like Fish and Chips, which is the pool restaurant. That's going to have your fried shrimp as well as fish and chips. So pretty good option there, and they have some upcharge items like lobster. In terms of things to do on board, there are plenty of things to do on board the Independence of the Seas. Starting on the top decks, you have the Perfect Storm pair of water slides. Those are going to be racing slides, a lot of fun. Line gets long for that, so do get there right when they open if you want to avoid that line. Flow Rider is also another option right next to that. That's a lot of fun. They have stand-up as well as boogie boarding. Not good at surfing, so I've only done the boogie boarding, but it's pretty fun to watch people do the surfing aspect of it. Right next to all that is the activities court. So you're going to have adult dodgeball, you're going to have basketball, pickleball now. It's really, really a lot of fun. And then the rock climbing wall, which is one of my favorite activities on board any Royal Caribbean ship. It's a really good rock wall here too. It's a little bit different than some of the other ships. There's a lot more kind of like overhangs and things like that. You're going to find the day's scheduled activities in the app actually most of the time before your cruise, so you can actually plan out your days, which is a lot of fun. But activities really get going around 10 a.m. and don't stop until late in the evening. My favorite things to do during the day, there's lots and lots of trivia on board. Love playing trivia. They have bingo, of course. The casino is open all day and night when the ship is not in port and in international waters. There's a lot of other kind of family style activities. The kids themselves have activities in Adventure Ocean that are tailored just for them. But if you don't want to separate from your kids, there's plenty of family activities on board. And then when it comes to entertainment, you have a lot on board the Independence of the Seas. For one, you have the Royal Theater that's going to have some specialty game shows that the whole ship kind of watches and selects people from the audience. You also have your Broadway production show, Grease, as well as some production shows specific to the ship. You're going to have specialty entertainment like jugglers and magicians, really depends on the cruise that you're on. But then journeying downstairs to Studio B, the ice skating rink, that's where you're going to find the ice skating shows, which are just absolutely amazing. It's also where you're going to find laser tag, which is another fun activity that you got to reserve in the app. Do note that Royal Caribbean tends to advertise their Oasis class ships and now Icon class a lot. Those all have the Aqua Theater. The Independence of the Seas does not have an Aqua Theater, so there's no diving show on board, but there are just so many activities to do on this ship that you're not going to be bored. In terms of itinerary selection for the Independence of the Seas, when I was sailing on her, she was sailing out of Miami. On shorter cruises, I went to Nassau, Bahamas, and Falmouth, Jamaica. If you can book a cruise that goes to Perfect Day at Coco Cay, Royal Caribbean's private island, I highly recommend booking that. It's a very special experience if you haven't been. They've pumped over $200 million into the island over the last 4 years. They've built the Thrill Water Park, which has some of the best water slides anywhere on Earth, not just in the Caribbean or in North America, but anywhere in the world. They have a lot of beach activities. There can be 2 ships in port at a time, but it really spreads out all over the island. The island's absolutely gigantic, so I do recommend making a stop there if you can. I'm typically a fan of, so I try to avoid Nassau if I can. Not always possible, and it's sometimes just one stop of many on your cruise vacation, so don't be too bummed. Based on my opinion, there are plenty of fun things to do there, including Atlantis, which if you haven't ever done that, that's a very fun, though expensive, day excursion to do in Nassau. If you're looking for more detailed information about Perfect Day at Coco Cay or Nassau, Bahamas, I have a lot of videos up on the channel on things to do on the islands, so definitely check those out if you are taking a cruise on the Independence of the Seas or any other ship to those places. And finally, if you're choosing between Independence of the Seas and maybe some other ships in Royal Caribbean's fleet, I gotta tell you, Independence of the Seas is one of my favorites. I absolutely love the Freedom class ships. They're perfectly designed. If you've watched my Independence of the Seas review video, you know I mentioned that a lot in there. Just really, really nice design here. I like them a little bit better than the Oasis class ships only because there's less passengers on board. Oasis class ships are still pretty fantastic though, and if you're looking for the newest and best, that's where you're going to want to venture to. Compared to other cruise lines, I do feel like Independence of the Seas does put on a good show. I think the overall quality of Royal Caribbean, maybe compared to some of her competitors, is really second to none. The crew are all super fantastic and just want to make sure that you have the absolute best vacation ever, so I would have no worries about that. I will say that Royal Caribbean is priced a little bit higher than her competitors, so just keep that in mind that there are ships that are sailing that are just as fantastic as the Independence of the Seas, but this video is just really aimed at tips and tricks for that specific ship. My channel has plenty of other cruise ship tours and reviews, so check those out if you're exploring maybe what ship you want to sail on next. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.